So today, we're going to dive into a movement that asks this really profound question. What if healing our planet and healing our own minds were actually two parts of the exact same journey? We're going to explore a philosophy called EarthSong medicine and dreaming thought into being to see how it's trying to connect our inner world with the living, breathing world all around us. At the very heart of all this is one single living question that really drives everything else. And that question is, how do we heal our relationship with the world around us, with nature, and with our own patterns of thinking at the very same time? All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with that core question, then look at how this all works, locally and globally. We'll get into the deeper principles, explore the pathways to healing, look at the actual practices, and then we'll wrap up with the invitation this movement offers to all of us. So first up, that living question. How does this movement actually define itself? Well, it really comes down to two sides of the same coin, two halves that make a whole. Okay, so on one side, you've got EarthSong medicine. This is the tangible, outward-facing stuff, actually reweaving our relationships with the plants, the trees, the fungi right where we live. Then on the other side, there's dreaming thought into being. And this is the inner work. Evolving how we think, how we feel, so that our inner landscape can actually support that connection on the outside. One is looking out, the other is looking in. And when you bring those two together, that's where you get the core idea. It creates this space, this field, where healing the planet, having a spiritual awakening, and changing how you think aren't three separate projects. Nope, they're all part of the same single story. So if that's the big idea, how does it actually work? What's so cool about this is the structure, because it works on a local and a global scale at the very same time, creating this really unique web of connection. On the local level, it's all about getting specific. We're talking about your forests, your gardens, the park down the street. It means literally saying a real, intentional hello to the beings around you. But, and this is the amazing part, you're not doing this alone. Globally, you're plugging into a worldwide community of people who are all doing the same thing, listening to the earth and to their inner lives, all at once. So how in the world does your local action connect with this global community? Well, the key idea here is something called morphic fields. You can think of these as living containers of shared attention. Imagine a whole crowd of people trying to learn a new song. At first, it's a bit of a mess, right? But the more people who get the tune, the easier it becomes for the next person to pick it up. It's kind of like that. Every single person's practice strengthens the pattern for everyone else. So suddenly, you sitting with a tree in your backyard isn't just an isolated act, it's actually contributing to a global wave of reconnection. Okay, let's dive even deeper into the philosophy. What are the core principles, the themes, that are really flowing through every part of this movement? You know, everything here is built on relationship, and they see it flowing in four key directions. It starts with human to plant, that big shift from seeing plants as just resources to seeing them as living beings. Then it flips, plant to human, where we start to realize this isn't a one-way street. Nature actually responds. This kind of deep listening then naturally extends from human to human, building a way stronger community. And finally, we get to plant, where we humbly realize we're just joining a conversation that's been going on for millions of years. And as these relationships grow, they tend to move through four major themes, almost like stages. It all kicks off with connection, that deep, felt sense of belonging. That feeling then fuels the transition, moving from an old way of being to a new one. As we make that shift, we open up to transformation, where real inner and outer change can happen. And all of this creates the conditions for emergence, where instead of forcing an outcome, we allow something totally new and unexpected to arise. So what about the spiritual side of all this? Well, the whole point here is not to escape the world, but to go deeper into it. It uses practices like forest bathing and tools like astrology not to predict the future, but as a symbolic language to understand natural cycles. And the main goal here is something called spiritual grounding. This is so important. It's the exact opposite of spiritual bypass, which is when people use spiritual ideas to avoid dealing with tough, real-world issues. This is about being more present with what is, not less. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how does it actually help? How does it become a form of medicine? This next part is all about the practical pathways it offers for healing some of the really specific wounds of our modern world. The movement is really clear about what it sees as the wounds of our time. And, well, they probably sound pretty familiar. We're talking about a deep sense of isolation and trauma. a feeling of being disconnected from our own bodies, from each other, and of course from the earth itself. These are the core challenges it's trying to address. Now, the approach to healing here is definitely not a quick fix. It's seen as a slow, patient, relational repair. It's about mending the connections between our body and our soul, between ourself and other people, and between us humans and the living world. For instance, just being with plants can literally calm our nervous system, while sharing those experiences in a community directly pushes back against that feeling of isolation. It's a gentle medicine, for sure, but a very real one. And this brings us right back to that other half of the puzzle, dreaming thought into being. The big focus here is on how we think, not just what we think. So instead of only relying on your analytical brain, it's about bringing the whole team on board. Your emotions, your body's intelligence, your imagination. It's about learning to see the big picture, the patterns, and using your imagination as a real tool for perception, allowing new thoughts to just arise from your experiences, instead of trying to force them. Okay, so we've got the philosophy, we've got the theory, but how does this all become real? Let's get down to the actual, tangible practices that bring all these principles to life. So what does this actually look like day to day? Honestly, it boils down to simple, direct contact with nature. The practices aren't complicated at all. It might mean picking one tree and just visiting it regularly for weeks or months. Or it could be as simple as practicing a respectful hello to the plants in a park, or just spending time in a garden with no phone, no distractions. The goal is just to learn to listen, to notice the subtle ways nature responds. And this right here, this might be the most important point of the entire practice. The goal is not to go out and collect a bunch of cool nature experiences like trophies. The goal is to build a genuine, ongoing relationship with the living world around you. So, with all of this in mind, why would someone actually choose to become a part of something like this? This final section is all about the invitation the movement extends and what it really offers people. So who is this for? Well, it tends to be for people who are just tired of feeling disconnected. People who have this gut feeling that their own healing is deeply tied to the planet's healing. It's for those who want a community to actually practice and grow with, who are ready for their thinking to evolve beyond just cynicism, and who want to feel like they're part of that global field of reconnection we talked about. So when you pull it all together, what does this movement really offer? Well, as we've seen, it's a movement for getting back into relationship with the world. It's a medicine for our modern wounds of isolation and disconnection. It's a community of people on a similar path, and a practice for being with nature and with yourself. Ultimately, it represents a huge potential shift in how we see things, a move away from a culture of extraction and toward one based on deep, meaningful relationship. At the end of the day, it all boils down to a very simple invitation. An invitation to remember that the world is alive. It's an invitation to help dream a different way of being into reality.